My name's Guru Nishan, and I was raised in the Kundalini Yoga tradition. My parents founded this practice around 1971, and then started some of the early Kundalini Yoga communities well, that's what Yogi Bhajan did. Yogi Bhajan brought Kundalini Yoga to the West in 1969. My parents were his students. But what Yogi Bhajan did very differently than a lot of gurus that came in the 60s was he wasn't looking to get a following or find disciples. He was looking to develop teachers. And so within like 3 or 4 classes, he sent his students off to go start an ashram somewhere and start teaching. And that's how the Kundalini Yoga practice, what's also known as 3HO. 3HO is the organization, the nonprofit organization that houses the Kundalini Yoga teachings. And 3HO just has spread all across the world, and so you can learn more about that online. 3HO stands for Healthy, Happy, Holy Organization. I teach these teachings because they resonate with me, because they're my living truth, because it's my destiny, and yet I also live fully integrated into the world, and I think it's one of the hardest things to find on a spiritual path as we start to awaken as souls, so to speak, is how do we deal with the everyday chaos of being in the physical dimension and being in what we are coming to know as Maya, the illusion that the physical dimension is what's real, and yet still stay very present in it. So we want to expand into our spiritual self, and yet we got to deal with the mundane. We've got to deal with the headaches. We got to deal with, fear-based thinking that's surrounding us. And that can be a very chaotic experience. And one of the powers of the Kundalini practice is that it gives us an actual way to handle being in physical bodies. We need a technology that allows people to be married, have a boss, have kids, have their businesses, be fully immersed in the physical world, and yet also be fully enlightened, learning to light yourself up from within in the midst of your crazy life. Not walking away from your crazy life and being in bliss, but being in bliss in the midst of your craziness. And that's what this technology will offer. One of the powers of the Kundalini Yoga practice is that it is really designed to deal with a high pressure, high stress, chaotic, commotion-filled life. It's not designed to wait till you come to yoga class to feel good. It's designed to integrate this technology into your everyday frequency. When you wake up in the morning, when you're in traffic, when you're about to have that meeting with your boss, when you're about to yell at your partner, all of these types of things in the moment. And the goal of any type of yoga, no matter what form you practice, is just to awaken your Kundalini energy. It really is. Because this energy in ancient times has always been known to be our untapped creative potential. So it sits at the base of the spine, and it sits right between the sex organs and the rectum, which is the space called the perineum. So this energy is just dormant. It's just coiled up, and it's known as the coiled snake or the coiled serpent energy that sits at the base of the spine. So whatever your practice, the goal is to awaken that energy and get the energy from below the waist to above the waist. Because if you understand the physical body, the earthly part of ourselves is the lower half, the first, second, and third chakra, or energy center, which we'll talk more about. Then you have the heart center, which is the bridge, and then you have the higher centers, which is your divine self. It's the throat center, the third eye point, and the top of the head. So in a lot of spiritual practices, as we start to get into our spiritual self or awakening, we're concentrating so much on the upper half, aren't we? We're like, I want to speak my truth, I want to live my truth, I want to be connected, I want the divine to come in through me, right? I want the violet source, light, divine flame. Yeah? Are you with me? Okay? Right? We go here because we want that energy of divinity and that connectedness. That's already ours. The work of the physical body, the reason we chose to be in this body, is to work on the lower half. It's to work on all of the issues of being in human form, which is below the waist, okay? So one of the most powerful, so the reason that an only asana practice can take so long to awaken the Kundalini energy is because it needs to be invoked in different ways, not just through physical form, okay? So we're going to talk about how all of this works together, but essentially the Kundalini energy, it wants to be awakened because it's why you came here. It's awaken this energy, to untap yourself, and live to your fullest extent. But we can't fully really do that until we're grounded and planted in the earth. Because you can't really be a tree and blossom in the world if you have no roots. to be able to base yourself or have a foundation to anything, okay? So as we awaken the Kundalini energy, what's important to understand is it's like a high voltage electrical current. And if you have too much electrical current running through your house too fast, your circuit breaker will break, right? It'll flip because it can set a fire. But the human body doesn't have that. It doesn't have a circuit breaker system. So we don't want too much of this awakened energy to surge through us. And so you hear stories that people it's dangerous to awaken your Kundalini, yeah? And sometimes you can hear this kind of stuff. And it's not necessarily true if it's done correctly. So the practice that I'm going to share with you is the practice that Yogi Bhajan brought here in 1969. And oftentimes when you hear his teachings, you'll hear us say Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan, because he taught us in a very specific manner that allows us to strengthen the nervous system. The nervous system is the operating system of the physical body. And when you get this nervous system working properly, it can handle high voltage of electrical current, because your nervous system is designed to handle high voltage electrical current. The problem for a lot of us is our nervous systems just aren't trained strong. They're just kind of on autopilot right now. They're just kind of working, but they're not really working. And then what we're seeing, because of poor diets, lack of exercise, and really no way of learning how to strengthen our nervous system, we're seeing a lot of neurodisorders, neurosystem disorders, a lot of MS, a lot of brain-body communication issues, yeah? So we can change all of those things by strengthening the nervous system. Now, once your nervous system is strong enough, your body will start to release trauma, and it will automatically start to awaken this energy current that wants to move up your spine. But we've got to get rid of some of the blockages that are living in the body. They're just energy blockages. And trauma is one form of block, yeah? So anytime we have stuff that's stuck in there, we've got to start clearing that stuff out, strengthen the nervous system so the body is reminded, oh, I know how to do this. Oh, not only am I knowing how to do this, I'm really good at this. Oh, wow, not only am I really good at this, wow, I can do this with grace. I can not only do it good, but I can do it with precision, with radiance, yeah? And that's how we're designed. And so once you get this operating system working, the energy will start to flow up and down through the spine. Old traumas will start to leave. Now, going back to the trauma thought, and I'll talk more about this in our class, but one thing I want you to really understand about trauma is your body is a self-healing, self-regulating organism. It's designed to heal itself. It's designed to regulate itself. It's designed to recalibrate itself. But it's not going to release stored trauma if your nervous system is too weak to handle that amount of output. Because out of self-preservation, it's going to hold on to what you can't handle letting go of yet, if that makes sense. So a lot of the practice is just going to be unwinding and clearing out so that we can allow ourselves to receive more. We can allow ourselves to flow in our fullest capacity. Trauma is stored in your physiology, and you have to have a way to access the physiology in order to move it out. It's not a mental thing. You can be in therapy, and I've had people come to 4 classes of Kundalini Yoga and drop more in 4 classes than they did in 40 years of therapy. Because when you access the physiology, your cells hold memory, your muscles hold memory, your organ systems hold emotion, and as you do this practice, what happens automatically is your body releases that, because your body is a self-healing organism and it's designed to heal itself. So we're going to get into these kinds of things today, because that's one of the magics of this practice, is it'll get in there, rearrange your cellular frequency, and what's old and traumatic will start to move itself. Just so you know, you are pure sexual energy. There is no doubt about it. And we're sexual beings. It's who we are. Going back to the real issue of that is it's all stuck below our waist. Okay? And once we can learn to alchemize some of that energy, alchemy is it's just taking one element and transferring it into a new element. So if we have old stuck energy in the body and we haven't processed it, let's say we had a loved one of ours die at 2, 3, 4, and we never really handled that energy is just stuck in the body somewhere. It's just stored, and it becomes a new form. It can become heavy muscle tension. It can turn into a tumor. It can turn into lots of stuff. And as we breathe and we put awareness into these parts of the body, we're just taking something that has become dense, and we're putting fire energy in it so we can turn heavy rock into molten lava and let that lava flow out of us. Okay? So we just become really amazing alchemizers through this practice.